is Patrice Valentine. I'm the owner here at Profusion Web Solutions. We've been doing our weekly 30-minute webinars just to try and kind of demystify, I guess, a lot of what's happening in the digital marketing industry. Everything is changing so very rapidly with how to market, how SEO works, what you need on your website. So we put together these 30-minute presentations just to try and answer as many of the questions as we can and kind of break down each individual digital marketing asset into something that's kind of bite-sized and attainable. So once a month, we are going to be doing these Q&A sessions. It gives us an opportunity to kind of put together anything that's happening in our industry. So if there's something major that's happened, it gives us a chance to kind of run through some of those major things that are going on. And it just gives us an answer to, or gives us an opportunity to answer some questions directly from our audience. So let's go ahead and jump right in. These are the questions. We're going to start off with the ones that came in from Instagram. So you can see the questions kind of being called out there on the right-hand side. We're going to go through those one by one. The first one is, what should I say in response to a negative review? If you're in business and you've been in business for any length of time, you're going to get a review that is maybe not so stellar. It's really hard to please everyone. So what we would recommend that you do if you do get a negative review is first respond quickly. So these are typically reviews that are happening in Google. So someone has gone to your Google business profile, they found your business, and they are leaving you potentially a 1-star review. 1, 2, or 3-star is going to be anything that's going to be kind of slightly on the negative side there. So recommend that you respond quickly to it. Don't ignore it. We see far too often people ignore not only the negative reviews, but the positive reviews. The goal is to respond to every single review that you receive on your Google business profile, responding with, acknowledging what the user's experience was, good or bad, and then using, if it's a positive review, using some keywords potentially in your response. So if it was something saying, we love Profusion. They did such a good job on our website. Our local SEO is now increased and we're doing great. In my response, I would then respond something about, thank you so much for choosing Profusion to help with your local SEO. So we'd be using some of those keywords back to the customer. In the situation of a negative review, what you're really going to want to do is you're not attempting to prove that you are right in this situation. You are not trying to win in this discussion. Typically, if someone is willing to go online and leave you a negative review, they're feeling quite emotional and impassioned about their experience with your business. So therefore, you kind of want to take some of the emotion out of it. You're going to respond quickly, acknowledge the concern that the customer had or the potential customer had, and then encourage an offline resolution. So if you're the owner of the company, maybe you weren't aware of this experience that the customer had, then you'd want to say something like, hey, we appreciate you letting us know about the experience you've had with our business. We would like to talk to you further about this experience. Please give Patrice a phone call at here's our phone number or an email at here's our email to try and take it offline. Because the last thing you want to do is get into a heated back and forth debate about, he said, she said, they did this, they should have done this, anything like that. You want to take it offline if you can. You don't need to talk to them about removing the review. Having, a negative review here and there is not a deal breaker for most people when they're looking at your reviews online. So although no one wants a negative review, it doesn't make us feel great. It is not the end of the world if you have a negative review. So again, respond to it, acknowledge it, and encourage offline resolution if that is something that is possible. Question number 2 here is, what do you think of those plain text conversational style marketing emails? And I've got one that I just popped up on my screen right here that actually came in this morning because I get like 800 of these per day. I think that's a real number that shows up in my junk folder. So get these emails that are very conversational. So it has my name in there. So it's got some personalization. It's talking about how it can help businesses. It includes information about how maybe taking time for creating proposals might be a time constraint that I have as a business owner. So it kind of touches on, some things that I'm actually experiencing as a business owner that maybe they could help me with. So this is a completely cold outreach email. A cold email, just as to define it, is an unsolicited email. It's a targeted message sent to someone that you don't know. So you don't have a prior relationship with this person. The goal is obviously to make a professional connection, have a sale, a partnership of some kind, or even a job opportunity if you're looking for that. It's not considered spam. So, obviously I didn't ask for this email. It's not something I requested, but this I would not consider a spam message because it is personalized to me. This is not mass produced, not mass sent out. I mean, it may have been, but it is personalized to my situation here. It is kind of the modern equivalent of a cold call, right? All these cold emails that people are sending out because we get so many of them, I'm sure you guys all get a ton of these as well. You might be wondering, are they actually effective? And I would tell you that if they weren't even somewhat effective, we wouldn't be receiving them anymore, right? If people weren't responding to these messages, then they would no longer, we would stop getting them. So let's talk through a little bit about kind of how successful doing cold email can be. First of all, it's only going to be successful if you have a list of relevant people. So, if you sell dog food and you're sending it to a cat rescue, obviously not going to be a good sales method for you. This is not going to be good. So you want to make sure that you have a proper list that you're sending to and that you are doing a few things here. But we'll talk through how you can improve effectiveness of these emails, but let's talk through some of the numbers. So the average open rate for these emails is going to be anywhere between 15 and 40%. That's a pretty wide range, obviously. So big range there for open rates. It's going to all depend on how optimized your list is. Again, if it's a cold email list that you've purchased or you've rented, or it's an association that you grab the list from that you may be a member of, you might get higher openings if they're more familiar with you, lower openings if it's a completely cold message that they don't even know who you are. Average response rate is going to be anywhere from 2.1%, so pretty low, to 8.5%. That's your average. So 2.1 being on the lower side there. Your conversion rate is going to be between 1 and 5%, which honestly is not a horrible conversion rate. You send 100 emails, you get a conversion rate between 1 and 5 people. Not a terrible conversion rate, especially when you look at the fact that conversion rates on social media can be anywhere from 0.2% to 2%. So a higher conversion rate here. And then you're looking at an average bounce rate. So where the emails are just bad, the email addresses don't even get delivered, between 3 and 7.5%. So those are just some average numbers. We get asked that question a lot too, or what are the averages for when you're even sending cold emails like this? But average open rate 15 to 40%. Obviously, that's going to be higher if your list is targeted and your message is relevant. You can also increase the effectiveness of these campaigns by having the information personalized. The fact that this one came directly to me, my name is spelled correctly. It is not all lowercase like it sometimes is, it's not all uppercase like it sometimes is. I sometimes get messages for Bob, who's my business partner. So if I see, hi, Bob, I obviously know that this is not meant for me. So this is personalized correctly. Highly targeted and personalized emails can achieve a higher open rate. So this one, I obviously open this one. You can get up to a 50% open rate depending on how personalized your message is. Follow up is also important. So sending one email, this is for, I mean, any other marketers on the call are going to know that you have to get, there's a certain number of times that your message needs to be seen before it becomes relevant to the user. So sending one email and that's it, it's not going to be nearly as effective as sending some, level of follow up. So this person sent me this email. I should expect a follow up in the next couple of days based on the fact that I've now opened this email. So having that follow up is going to increase your reply rates. The length of the email, it should be short. These you're looking at something less than 125 words. Those are the ones that are shown to perform best. So really get to the point of the message. This one that is on my screen is obviously very scannable because it's not just one giant block of text. It's kind of broken out into really short sentence-based paragraphs. You're looking at timing. The most amount of emails get sent on a Monday. That's when you get the most amount of these kind of what we would consider cold emails. Thursdays tend to be the days where you're going to have the highest positive response rate. So if you're looking at sending between if you have a choice between Monday and Thursday, definitely choose the Thursday rate. And then having your call to action. When looking at different calls to action in email, buy now is going to be on the far end of that spectrum. So you want to have a low friction call to action. So something like, is this partnership worth exploring? The one that's on the email that was sent to me is, want me to send it over? It's a proposal template that they've created for Profusion. So want me to send it over? That's a really low barrier. I don't have to exchange money. I don't have to give him my credit card information for a free trial. There's very few limits and limitations in me signing up for whatever he's offering or for me to review his call to action there. So this one is actually, I would say, is an example of a cold email done well. I'm not going to respond because I'm not going to encourage this, but it is something that if this hit the nail on the head, if I was feeling very frustrated about proposal creation, that this one might be something where I would actually say, okay, this might be worth exploring. Okay, so those are cold emails. So what do I think of them? Me personally, I don't love them because I receive so many of them. But as a marketers, they can be an effective tool depending on, again, your list, your personalization, and your message relevancy. All right. Next question we got was my website is getting lots of traffic, but not many calls or leads. Help. This is something that is a fixable problem, I would like to say. So you're already generating the traffic, you're not getting people completing your contact form, or your phone is not ringing. The first thing I would recommend that you do is check your call to action. So if I go to your website and there's not an immediate, what is my next step when I get to your website? If there's not a fill out your estimate request or download your free checklist or register for this event, or there's not something for me to do next, that's going to be the first thing. Or if your contact information is hard to find, if it's not in the upper right-hand corner, if there's not a contact page, if there's no easy way for me to take that next step, that's going to be the first thing I would encourage you to fix. If people don't know what to do next, that's your step one in fixing if you've got traffic, but no calls or conversions. The second thing I'm going to check is log into your Google Search Console, because that's going to tell me how people are finding your website. Let's say you own a company called Orange Marketing. That's the name of your company, Orange Marketing. And you're getting a lot of traffic to your website, not a lot of calls and conversions. And then when you go to your search console, what you might find is that people are finding you based on orange juice recipes or something like that, right? Best way to grow an orange tree. Maybe they're finding you for those types of searches, completely irrelevant to what you offer. So people are finding you based on irrelevant searches. Then of course you're going to be getting traffic for those searches, but they're not going to be converting because the keywords are just completely wrong. That at least will give you an idea of something that you can fix. So you can fix your keywords, you can fix how people are finding you, changing your pages, doing some on-page SEO to make sure that you're being found for keywords that are actually relevant to your business. The next thing I would look at is what are your, what we would call trust signals. Do you have reviews on your website? Are people being able to read testimonials or case studies? Are there types of things that encourage people to say, okay, or allow people to, kind of get that feeling of you can solve the problem that I came here with today. So are there some trust signals? So that would be the third thing I would look at. And then the last thing is clarity. So if your user interface of your website is not clear, like if your menu is confusing, if I'm trying to find the contact us page and you have some cute name for contact us, and it's not really obvious to people what you want them to do. So increase the clarity of not only the user experience on your website, but your messaging as well. Make sure you're not using a bunch of industry jargon. Make sure you have words on there that your everyday average user are going to be using when they land on your website. So increase your clarity as well. Those would be the four things that I would immediately check if you're getting traffic, but you're not seeing calls or leads coming in. I thought this was a fun one for Shopify. So Shopify is a e-commerce based platform. So if you sell, let's say, homemade candles and you wanted to sell those online, you could go to shopify.com and you could create an e-commerce website on your own. It's meant to be a DIY platform. It has since grown to where full development shops like Profusion can build out, completely really robust websites on Shopify. Shopify is a platform that it gives you for a certain amount of money, you get, a certain set of tools. And then if you need marketing assistance, if you need tax help, if you need, shipping integrations, then you add all of those on as additional fees. So it starts off as a kind of a do-it-yourself, really easy platform, and then you can add things to make it more complex if you need. In order for me to answer this question, obviously the person who asked it had some bias already kind of in their answer, knowing that Shopify or thinking that Shopify is terrible for SEO. So before I could answer this, we really had to look at what does it take to be good for search engine optimization? What does the platform need to offer in order to be okay for SEO? And so when I answered that question first, what we need to have in order to have good SEO on your website is going to have high quality content. Can you have high quality content on Shopify? Yes, you can. You can create text-based pages, you can create a blog, all of your product pages can have content on them. So check that one for Shopify. Yes, you can have high quality content. Can you do keyword research? So can you go into Google Search Console and figure out what people are finding your website for? Yes, you can do that. You can add the shortcut or the you can add the analytics code so that you're sending all of your data back to Google Analytics and to Search Console so that you can get all of the data needed. So yes, you can do your keyword research. Where Shopify, I'm not going to say does anything wrong, but where Shopify kind of gets into the question mark territory is in technical SEO and on-page optimization. So technical SEO is going to be how fast does your website load? Are your images optimized properly so that they load quickly? These are things that not only your platform, so actually Shopify would kind of take care of, but you as the user, when you're adding product photos, are your product photos 5 MB? Are they huge photos that could have been resized before you had uploaded them? So the technical SEO, Shopify does have what we would call some level of bloat. So there's things in Shopify that maybe your website doesn't need. There's fonts that are included in there that maybe you're not using on your website, but that could slow your website speed down. And that's not great for SEO. So from a performance standpoint, you don't have a lot of control if you use Shopify to go in and be able to really tweak that performance and optimize the performance of your website because it's hosted on Shopify servers. There's nothing you really can do as a user, or even if you're a system administrator, that you can go do to really tweak the performance of your Shopify site. Not so much you can do there. Obviously, you can upload better sized pictures, the pictures that are resized properly. But as far as the true performance goes, you don't have a ton of control over that. However, Shopify has been blasted a bit in the past for being kind of a heavier application, which loads more slowly, that has themes and templates that load a little bit more slowly. They have made improvements over the years. So I'm going to say that while you don't have a lot of control over that, like you would with the content side of things, Shopify is not terrible from a technical SEO point of view. From the on-page optimization, so again, I feel like this is something that the user has more control over, but unless you know to do it, you're not going to do it. So when you're writing the copy on your website and you add the paragraph of text to the site, are you going to know to create anchor links that are properly tagged? Probably not. So again, this isn't a Shopify issue. That would be more of a user, just lack of knowledge issue, right? If you're doing a DIY site, that is the downfall of building your own website, is that you don't have all of the knowledge that you need to have in order to make your website as good as it possibly can be. For the other ones, looking at the user interface, off-page authority, so having links coming back to you, making sure that your local SEO is correct in your Google Business Profile, all of that is done outside of Shopify, so really doesn't have a huge influence over Shopify. So all of those things we find. Again, the one thing I'd be looking at is the technical side of things on Shopify. So if I had to give my for sure answer, I wouldn't say Shopify is terrible for SEO. I think you can do what you can do to make sure that your website is still found and make sure that you're still providing relevant content for your users. At the end of the day, Google does want to reward the best websites with the most prominent placement and the proper content. So the best websites are those that are going to be able to solve the problems that the searcher is seeking solutions to. SEO isn't always about pleasing Google, it's more about pleasing the end user. So if you're providing copy that is relevant to your end user, that's going to end up being good for Google as well. So great questions from Instagram. Appreciate the folks who put those in. And then here are the questions that we got when folks registered on Zoom. So we're going to jump into these. We had a question that was, what is the difference between SEO, again, search engine optimization, and Google Ads? Good question. SEO and Google Ads, their goal is to drive content their goal is to drive visibility to your website. They differ mostly in cost, speed, longevity, and then control and targeting. So if you look at the cost, SEO is generally SEO is free to do, and I'm putting that in air quotes. So if you're just listening to this and you're not watching me, SEO is free in air quotes because it is something that you can do yourself if you have the knowledge. It is creating good content on your website. It is making sure that you have the proper on-page structure with your title tags, your descriptions, your heading tags, making sure that you have good anchor linking strategy from page to page. So SEO is technically free. It just takes time. Time is not free, obviously, but can be done to your own website. Google Ads is going to require continuous spending. You're paying Google to send traffic to your website based on a keyword auction. The minute you stop paying Google, you are going to stop receiving traffic from Google Ads. So SEO is something that can be done on an ongoing basis that is going to net you results for a very long time if your content is good and valuable and is what we would consider evergreen, so that the content is, remains relevant for a long time. That Google's going to continue sending you traffic for those keywords. I want to say something like 15 years ago, I published a YouTube video and a blog post that was how to check your spam folder on webmail. I published this for our customers. That is still, that post that I put up 15 years ago is still one of our top traffic drivers to our website. It's no longer even very relevant, but because I have so much longevity and it's such detailed information with the video and the blog post instructions, we still get traffic from people who are across the world searching for how to check their junk folder. But because that is such a relevant content, we still get traffic to our website for that post and that search query. So SEO, it does not stop the minute you stop, paying for it or doing your SEO. SEO can continue to pay dividends even if you are not paying for it, unlike Google Ads. When looking at speed, Google Ads can get you traffic fast, almost immediate results within a couple of days. You're paying for traffic, so as soon as you get your ads up and running, and as soon as you get your credit card linked into Google, they're going to start sending traffic to your website. It can be very quick. SEO is not, that is not the case for SEO. SEO takes time. So that blog post that I put up 15 years ago, though it's still getting us traffic, it didn't immediately get us traffic. I sent that out via email. I sent it out on our social media accounts at the time when we had it. I think it was probably just LinkedIn. So we were putting that information up and out there, and then it started gaining traction in the search engine. So it takes time to have, Google or whatever AI model now to go through and find the content, understand the content, and then start sending traffic to the website because of that content. Again, I touched on longevity. SEO it sticks around. If done correctly, SEO can help your website rank for those keywords for a very long time. Ads, as soon as you stop the spending, it's going to be paused. As soon as you put your account on hold, you will no longer be receiving traffic from your Google Ads. And then the control and targeting. So I would love to no longer have our website ranked for for how to check your spam folder, because again, it depends on what email client you're using, right? For us, it's still somewhat relevant because, at least people are searching for emails. So it might be something that could eventually get us a hosting contract or someone needing a new website or something like that. But I don't have a lot of control over whether or not Google shows that article anymore. I could take it down off of our website. If it really started to bother me, I could take it down. But I don't have a lot of control over where that's shown. There's folks coming from the Netherlands that are finding that article and watching our YouTube video. I don't have control over that. Google is deciding where and when to show that article. With Google Ads, you have total control over when and where and who sees your ads. So I can choose only to show my ads to the people in the Netherlands, and it can only be people searching for this specific exact match keyword. So I have control over who sees it, when they see it, and where they see it in Google Ads versus not that much control in just traditional search engine optimization. On my screen, you can see the yellow highlight. That is a sponsored result. That's Google Ads. The content below it with that's kind of green highlighted, that is just basic content that's showing up in the search results. That is the result of SEO. Okay. Let's see. I have a couple. Okay, this is our last one, I believe. Two more. So we've got a couple more minutes here. Question again was, how do I grow my email list? First, there was another question that I didn't put on here, but it was, is email marketing still relevant? And so I want to answer that one first because it's kind of a question 0.5 on this one. Email marketing is still incredibly relevant. I would say the majority of those that are on this webinar right now came from our email marketing. If you look at the little chart that I have on the screen there, the beautiful thing about email marketing is I have direct access to your inbox. So I can say, okay, we're going to have a flash sale tomorrow and everything that we sell is going to be 95% off, and I can just push it out to my email list, and it can be very targeted, and I can send it directly to who I want to send it to, and it's going to hit your inbox. Where if I decide tomorrow I'm going to have that same sale and I want to push it out on social media, if I just do it on organic social, I don't really have control over who sees that. Even if I have 1,000 followers on my Instagram page or on my Facebook page, I don't get to choose who sees it or when they see it. So there's way more control and way more availability for access if you are doing email marketing versus just pushing things out on social. So yes, email marketing is still incredibly relevant. The ROI, this figure, it changes. I've seen anywhere from $35 to $42 per $1 spent is your return on your investment for email marketing. So that kind of differs a little bit, but honestly, I would take if it's $3 that I return for every $1 spent, I like any ROI that I can get that's in a positive area. So it is still a highly effective channel. It is a highly effective channel if you have an email list that wants to hear from you. So how do you grow your email list? The first thing we put up here is a lead magnet or a funnel of some kind. So offer content that people are going to want to get from you. We have a few different lead magnets. Almost after every single webinar, we put out a different lead magnet. So last week's was the Google Business Profile Checklist. If you're a local business, take 10 minutes and go through our checklist to make sure that your business is showing up properly on Google Business Profile. We have this available for download on our website, but in order to download it, you must first give us your first name, your last name, and your email address. And this is one way that we're growing our email list. So think about what you could have on your website if you're a retail operation or a service-based operation. It could be a discount. I don't love giving away coupons necessarily, but if it makes sense for your audience, offer a coupon in exchange for an email address to grow your list that way. You can host an event. So every webinar that we do, obviously, it gives us the opportunity to get in your inbox. You get reminders about the events. It allows us to, if I am talking to a new, potential audience, if I go to a networking meeting and, if I'm talking to that group, having an event gives me something more to talk about. So every time I go to a BNI meeting, for example, if I'm having an event, I can say, hey, our weekly Wednesday webinar this week is about XYZ. I'd love to have you register. Go to my website to register. So it allows us to, if you host an event, either live or virtual, it allows you to grow your email list that way. I'm going to skip a second and just go down to connect your tech. This is one area where we see a lot of people struggle is if I'm hosting an online event, if I'm hosting a webinar like what we have here today, how do you connect your Zoom account with your MailChimp account? Or how do you make sure that if people are registering on your website and filling out that form, do they get added to your MailChimp account? And there are ways you can do that. So you want to make sure that that is working. First of all, that people are receiving the email reminders, that they're receiving the confirmation email so they can actually attend your event, and make sure that that is all connected so that if they do register on your website, that they are then sent to, or that information is then sent to your email marketing provider, MailChimp, Constant Contact, Brevo, whoever you're using. So you do want to just make sure that that your tech is connected. Social media is a fabulous way to grow your email list. What you're looking at on social media is first growing your audience. So making sure that you have, your customers like you or follow you on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn, that you're, going out and liking companies that you want to work with and they're liking you back. So you're growing your audience on social media. And then once you've grown your audience, you can push to have them follow or push to have them sign up for your emails. So one of your posts could be on social media, hey, for anyone who subscribes to our email list today, they're going to get X, Y, or Z, or we're going to do a giveaway of some kind and encourage people to sign up for your email list via your social media accounts. And then I already touched on this one a little bit, but network. We, show up in person and grab those old-fashioned business cards that I call them old-fashioned, but they're not. They're still so relevant. Get the business cards and add those people to your email list. When you're networking, just, tell people, hey, I offer a weekly email that we send out that's offering really educational information about digital marketing services. Would you like to be added to it? You can see it, you can unsubscribe at any time. So you can be growing your email list via networking as well. All right, this is our last question from the pre-recorded or the pre-submitted questions, and it was retail business here, business to consumer. What is the number one thing I should be focusing on? As a retail business, what I would tell you, there's a lot of things I'd want to look at here, obviously. But if I'm looking strictly from a digital marketing point of view, the first thing I would have a retail business do is own their local visibility. And this would be through your Google business profile specifically. It is really your digital storefront. So even if you have a retail location, people are starting their search for what you offer online. This is your most important asset. So you're going to want to focus on making sure your categories are correct, your hours are correct, you're adding fresh photos, you're consistently getting reviews. We'll talk about that. That your Google business profile shows up properly in maps. And that's going to be a combination of business profile and your citations, making sure that your name, address, and phone number are correct across the web. So that would be step one. Own your local visibility by making sure that your Google business profile is correct, up to date, posted too frequently, and making sure that all of that information is the way it should be. The second thing I would focus on is getting reviews. So come up with some sort of review strategy, review acquisition strategy, whether that's at the point of sale, asking for a review, whether that's a follow-up text or email asking for a review. Getting more reviews is going to be key to making sure that you remain visible in your local market. And then number three, we just talked about it, but build that email list. Again, if you're a retail location, you're going to want to start asking for people for their email addresses. Create a loyalty program, create an exclusive club that people can be a part of if they join your email list. It sounds old school, but email marketing is still one of the only ways where you own the customer data. You don't own it on Facebook. You don't own it on Instagram. You do own it here if you have emails. So I would then look at growing your email list that you can market to at your leisure, whenever you need to market something. Those would be the three things I would be focusing on. We're going to do this again next month. So if this conversation sparked some level of, gosh, well, why did she say that? Or, I'm curious about something else. Feel free, send me an email, patrice@profusionwebsolutions.com. I'll answer any emails you have there. If it's something that I feel like would benefit the audience, if it's not super specific to you, we will put it into next month's office hours. I believe they are also on March 25th. So you can put in your question for that, or when you register, you can put your question in right there on the registration. We'll ask again on Instagram as well. So if you wanted to put it on Instagram, all of those venues are available for you. Next week, we are talking about email marketing. It's one of my favorite platforms. So we're going to look at first party audience. So talking about how you can own that audience, and then some simple automations that you can put in place to make sure that you are consistently sending to that list. So that is next month's or next week's and the first of next month's weekly webinars. So again, you can join us here on Zoom, sign up on our website at profusionwebsolutions.com. I thank you very much for being here today, and I look forward to talking to you next week.